Good afternoon, my EndNote fans. Apologies again for the miscommunication about the original date being yesterday. To give you a little backdrop, in case you didn't know, my name is Matt Torrence. I'm one of the two EndNote trainers and primary instructors here at the USF Tampa Library, and I very stupidly scheduled a session for yesterday, which was a holiday. So I'm recording this for you today. I've hopefully emailed all of you. You can come see me. You can listen to this. I don't think there's anyone live, but you can listen to this at any time. I'm going to send out the links, and I'm going to keep this short and sweet. So if you have any questions, you can stop me if anybody comes in, or you can always email me at torrence@usf.edu. TORRENCE@usf.edu, and I just put that in the screen. I have sent you all an end outline, and I'm going to go ahead and show that now on the screen here. I'm going to share that application. I'm going to open up the Word document that I sent out, and eventually we're going to see the outline here. I hope, and hopefully you're looking at this now. Basically what we're looking at here is just a brief outline of what it is, which we'll talk about shortly, where you can get it, and then what are all the buttons and menus once we get into it, entering references, making bibliographies, number 6, keeping it up to date, and number 7, EndNote Web, which I'm not going to spend very much time on at all. Again, I did want to keep this kind of short because it's hard to get your brain to suffer through all of this at one time. So I may go through some of these quickly. If you have more questions, as I said, you can email me, set up an appointment. Email is always the best way to do that, or you can just get in touch with me at any point after this. So hopefully you wouldn't be here if you didn't know what EndNote was, but EndNote is a citation management software that is loaded onto your computer, which makes it a little different from some of them. And it is very powerful. You can use it to both keep track of what you've done and to create bibliographies by interacting with Microsoft Word and other programs, as we'll see in a few minutes. So that's pretty much number one. This is something to store and keep track of all the things you do, from either just the citation all the way up until the full article. Where can you get it? As you can see here, as students, you can buy it for $10 at the Marshall Center Computer Store, or you can download free trial versions, which I don't particularly recommend, or you can use the free EndNote Web, which I also don't recommend, and we'll talk about that at the end. I think the best thing to do is just to buy it. It costs about $200 if you buy it in the real world, out there on the street, if you will. If you get it as a student, it's only $10. So you might as well get it here. Try it out now. In certain fields like biology, it's going to be very important. So you're going to see I have EndNote 6. I think they're actually up to 8. They all change a little bit from time to time, but buy the newest one you can right now, and then buy the newest one again when you graduate, and you'll be one step ahead of the game. And we'll talk about how it's different, because it is a program. It's not a cloud-based thing. So there is a web version, not as good. There is this other version that is full that I like better, and we're going to go into that version now as I try to switch this over to a different application. I'm going to stop that application, and I'm going to start sharing. I'm going to do my entire desktop just because it's going to be a little bit easier that way. It may not be as pretty, but, well, yeah, we'll start with that and we'll see what happens. So you should be seeing my entire, let me try this one more way. I think it's going to look a little better if I actually do. Yeah. All right. So you should see EndNote now. This is my EndNote library, and basically what you've got going on here when you build your library, and we're sharing it. Now you should see it. What you've got here will be your library. It's sort of like building a database. Mine already has a bunch of stuff in it. What you're looking at now is sort of a combination of database and citation tracking system. And over on the left are all of my groups. And groups are kind of like folders. You can use this to keep track of a particular project. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to create a group called training, and I'm going to use today's date. So this would be a folder just for whatever I do today. You can create as many of these as you like. This is basically how you organize them, but things will always be in the all references list, and then they can appear in multiple of your groups, which are synonyms for folders. So that's basically it about the sort of master file is the all references. If you put something in there, it's not gone until you delete it from there. You can then put it into different groups. I can take and put this one and this one and this one into the new group I've just created, Training Today, and it will put those in. Actually, I picked the wrong one. I picked Training Today instead of today's date, but I'm also going to then put them into Training for our date, and now there's 3 of them in there, and they're also in the master list. So you kind of have the master list and then all the sub lists. If you really don't want it to be gone, just don't delete it from the all references list. So this is your library, and then the groups are different subsets of that. You will also notice that many of these things have the little familiar icon next to it with the paperclip, indicating that the full text is there. If we look at this one on Perspectives on Sustainable Wastewater, you'll see the citation over here where my mouse is, and then eventually the full text of the article. Again, because you see that paperclip, that means the full text is attached. If you see one without it, such as this one, you'll have the full citation information, but the PDF is not there. Now, there are ways that you can automate finding these in some cases, and if you can't, if you have to get them through interlibrary loan or through other means, you can go in later and you can add the PDF here if you have to do it manually. So some things happen automatically, as you'll see, some things happen manually, but both options are there for you to build your library full of both citations, and if it doesn't automatically come over, you can get the article, the PDF later on, and that can be added in. Now, basically what happens with these is when they come in, you sort of have to see if the full text is available. And that's one of the things you can do with this one. For example, I probably have already tried it with this here article by R. Albert from the Journal of American History. There is no paperclip next to it, but you can highlight one or more of these, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of them that don't have the article attached. And then you can find this little button. It'll be marked somehow. In this case, it's this little piece of paper with the world sort of, not the world, in some of them it's the globe, but with the arrow pointing around it, you should see that I'm hovering over it. It says Find Full Text. If you are logged in, either on campus, in the IP range, or if you're at home and you come into the web-based VPN, which means logging in through vpn.usf.edu, you can click this button to find, as you'll see here, it's now telling us that there's copyright issues, but as long as you're promised you're doing it right, you click Continue, and it will check, and you can see down here, it is searching for these, and in this case, it's going to tell us in a moment, most likely, that none of them are available. Not found, not found, not found. All 3 were not found, which isn't a surprise because I've already probably done this with those. But you'll see in a few minutes when I download some new ones, the citations will come, and then you have to go back and get the full text. It's not allowed to do it all in one step due to copyright and other restrictions. Forgive me if I get a little sip of water there. So entering references, number 4 on our outline, is the next stage of this particular adventure. So what we're going to talk about here is manually saving them and importing them, and then direct export from the databases. We're not going to use the online search tool very much. I will point that out to you in just a few moments, but most of them are going to be save and import or directly from the databases. The 2 on the other side are a little bit different. So there is an option if we're in sort of the EndNote database here. If you want to, you can go to the References tab, which is way at the top. Hopefully you can see this. And you can see here there's a choice for a new reference. And this is a manual entry. This is if you find something and you want to put it in and it's not automatically able to be exported into a database. I mostly use this for journal articles I already have where I just want to enter the information. Or, to be honest, more often you can see here there are a number of choices. I use them for icky things that I don't know how to cite, like personal communications, reports that I find, or most often web pages. So even though you have to enter the information, it still puts it in the right order, which is great if you have a web page that you want to enter. If there is no author or year, but you have a title, you just put in the pieces that you do have, when you accessed it, what date, description. You don't have to fill in anywhere close to all these fields, just the bare minimum or whatever you have, and then it will add it to your library in the right format. And you can obviously automatically introduce that into your Word document, which we'll look at in a few minutes. So manual entry, this record is empty, it cannot be saved, which is fine. Manual entry is fine, but you won't really do that very often. Most of them will be 4B and 4C, either saving and importing or directly exporting them from the databases. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm going to stop sharing EndNote, and I'm going to go over and I'm going to start sharing with you one of my windows. I'm going to open this window so you can see it. I'm going to go to a new library window here, and we're getting, yes, we've got start your search here, so we're on the library homepage. And you can use most of these databases to export directly or to save and then import into RefWorks, the different result of RefWorks, EndNote, sorry, wrong citation tool, into EndNote as you find them. And I'm going to use a couple, maybe two of these databases here that are on our sort of greatest hits databases list, starting with Web of Science. I'm going to click on Web of Science. And once it opens, I am going to go in and I'm going to do a search. Oh, it doesn't really matter what I'm going to look for. I'm going to look for mountain bike, because my friend just bought a new mountain bike. This has no relevance to your search, obviously, but this is just so that we can have some terms to use for the sake of this example. So here are articles from various databases that we may like, and some of them will have the full text and some of them won't. But let's just say that these three you really liked, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So I've marked them. And then you here, right above, see that we have an option, Save to EndNote Online, which is nice, but we want Save to EndNote Desktop, which is the particular program we're using now. So Web of Science is able to talk directly to EndNote. We're going to say yes, we want all of these things just as it comes, and then we send them, and then we use EndNote to open it. And you may not see all of this, but right now, let me go back, and you may not see this, so let me go back and share with you EndNote. I'm going to share the entire desktop for a minute, just so you'll see everything. You should be seeing that now I am back in EndNote, and I have 3 articles here. I'm going to Control plus the sign. I can't make it any bigger, but I have those 3 articles that I liked, and they automatically were imported directly. And now they're unfiled. They're in my all references list. At this point, I can do one of 2 important things. The first thing I do is see if the full text is available via the method I just referenced. So I highlight one, I hold the Command or the Control button if you're on a PC, and you highlight all 3 of them, and then I click the Find Full Text button, which will then do the same process that happened before, but in this case, it should find, hopefully all of these, since I know them to be available. There's one. Hopefully number 2, there's number 2, and there's number 3. So this is sort of the easy success story. We've now got all 3 of these. The PDF is there within your EndNote file, and then we can take all 3 of these and move them into our Training Today folder or group, as it were, which now has 6 total items, some of which have the full text and some of which don't. So that's really all there is in terms of importing and exporting in most cases. The only trick you'll run into is some of them, instead of automatically sort of importing it right in, it will force you to save a file as a certain type and then import them into your EndNote account. For example, instead of that automated process, if I went to EndNote and I did references, file, you can see here that there are import and export options within EndNote. This is so that you can send files to a friend, to another type of bibliographic citation management systems, or if the file doesn't talk to the database really well, you can go to import, and then you can see here it automatically goes to downloads. Let me see if I had one recently that was a download here that was a type of file that would work. Let me see if I can do this by date added. because I have done this pretty recently. Here's one. See, this is one that's a CIW file. So what I would have to do is go to this one. Let's say that was something I just downloaded and it didn't export right in. I would import it in, and you can see here, oh, it didn't come in for me. I hate it when it does that, when it makes me look foolish in an example. Let me do another one. Actually, let me walk the full example through because I think I know what happened. I have to kind of tell it where it's from. So instead of using Web of Science, let's say that we were using Science Direct, which doesn't always talk as directly to EndNote. So we look up our same search, we find things on mountain bike. Let's just say we want this one article, so we mark it. We're going to export it to RIS format. You see this one doesn't have that automatically export to EndNote, so we have to pick RIS format, and then you click export, and then it tries to use something else, but I'm going to see if EndNote will do it, and in this case, actually, it worked fine. So there will be rare cases where you may have to save whatever it is as a file, and whatever type it is, RIS, CIW, and then there may be occasion where you have to go file, import, and you know, it's strange. I think with this one, I can't remember where it came from, but down here you have to sort of tell it where it came from. I'm just going to, in this case, leave it as multi-filter special and see what happens. And there now they have come in. So it's all a trick with some of these things. You have to kind of figure out if you get stuck with any of these that aren't automatically coming in, let me know and I'll help you out on any of those situations. So that's the long and short of more or less how you get stuff into EndNote. The final way that you can do this is to use the online searches that you see here. You can actually use EndNote as a database to search. You can't read this very well, but this is the Library of Congress. This is an EBSCO database called LISTA, ProQuest, PubMed, and Web of Science. It will speak directly to those databases. I don't recommend this method because in a lot of cases when you do that, you get a lot more than your system can manage, and I have it locked up. So instead of using EndNote sort of as a lens to search these databases, I tend to search the database, as I just showed you, export things, or save them and then import them, or even manually enter them. But any way you look at it, what you want to do is get everything for one project into one folder, and in any way possible, get that full text item on there, because once you get it, you can go in, as you can see here, and we can even go into the PDF, and you can highlight certain things in the PDF, which I think here, if I have to break it off, you can add sticky notes. I can blow that up. Let me see if here we go. Open it in a reference window. I'm going to save those changes, and now I've got it as a much bigger window, which I can go in and I've got all the EndNote controls in here, including my citation number, the author, and all that fun information. So it's basically a container for everything that you do, the full text, what you used. If you want to use something for more than one thing, this is the perfect tool for doing that. So that's how you get stuff in here. Those things I added are now in my all references file. The last imported still has these three things. I'm going to go ahead and put those into my training folder today, and then I'm going to also try to find the full text, which I think I already did. Excuse me, but just to make sure that these examples are there for you and firm in your mind. We found more and more, and hopefully one more to complete it, and now we've got all of those that are in our training folder have the PDF, except for that one little outlier where we couldn't get it. So what we've done now is build this lovely group with all of our PDFs and all the articles that we want to cite. Let's just say these are the 9 things that I am going to use to do my paper, to write my thesis, which would be a pretty bad thesis if it only had 9 citations. So now we're moving to the next and possibly the most important part of the outline today. Number 5, how do I make bibliographies, installing Cite While You Write, and exporting as a text file. Most of this should happen automatically in terms of Cite While You Write. basically, right now I'm going to bring up my Microsoft Word window. And once you have Word and EndNote, and I'm looking at an actual EndNote handout that I haven't given to all of you, but you may see over here I've got these little toolbars, one for, which I cannot move, one for EndNote and one underneath it. This is for a different tool. But the EndNote one, which I'm going to separate, the EndNote one on the top here, this is your EndNote toolbar. It may be, depending on the version of Word you have, here on EndNote in older and newer versions. For some reason, I've got the one with the little floating toolbar. So as long as you have EndNote installed and you have Word installed, you should see this toolbar somehow. So I'm going to open up a new document just to show you what you can do with this. And I'm going to start typing and say, this is my crappy paper. And then I want to cite it. Spell it right, too. So EndNote is open. I could go to EndNote and insert citations from there, or I can go here. I could bring EndNote to the front of the screen with this little EN button. I can hit the magnifying glass to search EndNote for specific things I want to cite in my paper, or I can insert the ones that I already have highlighted. Since I don't remember what I have highlighted, I'm going to click EN, and I'm going to say that I've got a lot of duplicates here. I have to get rid of some of those, but we can find those later. In fact, let me see, references, find duplicates, and there it goes. We're going to keep this one, keep this one, keep this one, and now we're down to the normal number. So let's just say it's this one that I wanted to cite. So I pick that one, and then I can go back to Microsoft Word. And now, since I know what is highlighted, I can click Insert Citation or More, currently selected, and I do that. And it gives me the parenthetical reference and then the works cited citation. Because I'm in APA style, this is automatically formatted like this. You can always change it at any point. If I wanted to change it, you can see here there are other styles automatically here that I've used recently, or you can select from a very, very long list. MLA is another very common style. Now I'll change to that. Now it's changed to MLA. So I'm going to go back to APA because it's the one that I tend to use the most and the most familiar with, and show you a couple things about this. I'm going to add a couple more sentences. I'm going to say a few more sentences here to serve as an example. And I'm going to go back to EndNote. I'm going to say this time I want to cite both of these people, so I'm going to highlight two of them, go back to Word, and I'm going to insert those citations into my Word document just as I did before. And what has happened is they were automatically again added as parenthetical references, and then they were added in the proper order down below in alphabetic order. You can move this down as I normally do, works cited, whatever, bibliography, whatever you're going to call it. A couple things I generally do. I generally will put right before this, I will insert a page break. That way, it's always starting on its own new page. And I'm going to go there. So those are always going to be down there, and your paper will be up here. And I can type some more, and I can add one more citation. I'll bring EndNote to the front. I'll use this last one, go back and insert it. And there's kid. And then I put my period, and this one is now also a part of my bibliography. A couple things about this that are interesting and tricky. And I'm going to actually remove my page break just because I want you to see this now. Where are my characters? Let me see. I always forget. There we go. I'm going to remove the page break, hopefully. All right, just so you can see it. So it's all on one page again. I'm going to get rid of the characters. But I would suggest putting it in once you're to a point where you want to. Now, you'll notice when I highlight this text with my cursor, well, it doesn't actually do it as well on here. What you should see, and it's hard for me to demonstrate, it does this on a PC, is that the text that's within the citations and the text that's within the bibliography portion, they're not actually there. I mean, they are, they'll always print, but they're tied to Microsoft Word. I'm sorry, let me back up. they're tied to EndNote. Meaning, if I find an error in this citation by this article by Alexandrino, Damasio, Canajo, etc., I couldn't change this text right here. It would have to be changed in EndNote within the record. So I could go to this article here and actually edit it within EndNote, and then it would talk to the Word document, because what's happening is EndNote is feeding that information to Microsoft Word, and whenever it reconnects with this paper, it will automatically update anything. So if you see a misspelling or a word that needs to be changed or capitalized, you can go in and do that. In this case, actually right here, this one by Kid, these should not be capitalized. You'll notice all the others. The first word of the title is capitalized. It should just be recreational with a capital R, and then these should not. But I can't change them there. But if I go into the record here, I can actually go in and edit this, and I can see here up and make them lowercase. I'm just going to make a couple of them so that you'll see what I mean. Steam crossing effects, and I'll just there we go. Those are now, and I'm going to move away from it and save that. And when I come back here and I go back to my toolbar and I do a there's a button to do this. It's different on each one, but I'm going to change it. Where is the darn button? Tools. There we go. If I do the Tools section and I click to, oh darn it, they keep changing the thing so I can never figure out what it is. We don't need to insert a note. We don't need those tools. I should have done this before. I had to make sure I was used to this version. But in this case, what I'm going to do is change it from MLA, or from APA to MLA, and then back to APA. And you can see now those letters that I changed are lowercase. Usually there's an update button on most of the newer versions that just kind of like a refresh button. This one doesn't seem to have it, so I had to switch formats. But just realize that any of the text that's in these parenthetical references, you'll notice when I hover over it, it's going to come up with this number of the citation. You'll see there Alexandrino 139. That's referring to our EndNote account. Same with this one. If I highlight it or hover over it, I've got Buckmuller number 2, Brown number 138. These are all different things that are within mine. So it's no problem, except that you have to make sure when you start writing a paper, it's talking to the same version of EndNote the entire time. And what I like to do is I install EndNote on my work computer and on the 2 laptops that I use with the same copy of EndNote, which is fine. And then I keep my library, which is my main sort of file set of all these citations of all these documents, in Dropbox. And then when it's pulling from wherever I'm going, it's always looking essentially at the same version of EndNote, the same library. So that's very important. It's much easier to change the style. You can see if you write this and you start writing it in APA style, and then your article, let's say like mine did, got rejected, and you have to rework it. You can say, well, I don't want APA style. I want JAMA style because I am in the medical field. And you can see here, very different. It's a numbered style with different capitalization rules. Again, we would have to fix some of these to undo some of the capitalizations, but that would all be very easy to accomplish. So I hope I did this right and we were seeing all of that. Let me see. Application sharing, I'm just going to pause it for a second and start it again with the entire desktop, which you should be seeing. And here's our Word document. Again, I'm going to switch it to APA style so you see something that looks a little more traditional and how easy that is. And then you can save the paper itself. And it will always print. Don't worry about you don't have to have EndNote to print. You can email the article to your professor or run it through, Turnitin.com if you need to have plagiarism checks. That will all be fine. The text will appear. You just won't be able to save it. It's sort of in a limbo situation. So this is what you're shooting for in most cases. These are the most important things of our outline, is making sure you understand that there's 2 major processes: getting things into EndNote, which we discussed here in Section 3 and Section 4, and then how you make the bibliographies and how you get to interact with Word, which is number 5. Now, number 6 is really not something I'm going to go into a lot of detail today as well. EndNote now will automatically update online in most cases if a newer version comes out. Output styles refer to different citation styles, APA, MLA. There are hundreds of them. If you find one that does not exist, let me know and they will create one. The same holds true for import filters. If there is a database that you cannot export from, that will not send something in the right fashion, email me and we will get on that too, and EndNote will actually build one. There are filters for almost every database I've ever seen. Connection files are something that relate to using EndNote to search. As I referenced earlier, you can go back to your all references here and you can use these online searches if you wanted to search the Library of Congress or EBSCO directly through EndNote, but again, I don't recommend that as a primary mode for searching. I recommend using the normal databases and then putting them in your shopping cart metaphorically and then putting them into EndNote. And then there's a little bit more that's available on the guide here that's linked on that handout where you can get additional tips. Now, EndNote Web, very, very quickly as I wrap up, is not as powerful. If you're going to use EndNote Web, I would say go ahead, make sure to get familiar with it and consider stepping up to the full version at some point. But it just doesn't have all of the same features. It does allow for some online sharing of groups, which is nice, but it doesn't have any other super advanced features that you can't get with EndNote traditional desktop. And I think now that you can use, excuse me, you can use Dropbox to store your materials, you won't run into the problems where you actually need to be on the web as much. Excuse me, my throat is completely dry. So that, in a nutshell, is everything. I'm going to keep it right here at 30 minutes. I'm going to send you all the link to this that were scheduled to attend yesterday. If you have any questions, please email me to set up an individual appointment. I know some of you have done that already. Check out the YouTube channel for EndNote. Check out this check out this demonstration. And if you do get stuck in the near future, not only me to help you, but we've also got some other folks at EndNote that I can get in touch with to give you a hand. So thank you very much. Any comments, please email them to me, and I will talk to you all soon.